All right, I'm going to start with a quick anecdote here. I was talking to my brother the other day, my younger brother, who's not very political. He's a gamer. We'll play games sometimes, and just really not talk politics at all because he just genuinely doesn't care for the most part, unless something spits in his Cheerios, so to speak. So we were having a discussion. And he told me that at work they had this meeting where they got together and they wanted to tell him what life was like as a white male, and so on and so on. And he was telling me how it just viscerally made him upset because how could they possibly know what his life is like? How we both grew up, honestly, with not a lot. And how could they possibly say he's privileged, yada yada yada, right? All that kind of stuff. And he objected to it, and somebody actually said "f you" to him when he said that. So I said, "Oh man, this is how it's gonna be." Like I've already been seeing this stuff so often, but it kind of amazed me that it hadn't yet crossed his path in a personal way like that. And so what I'm trying to go over here is dissecting how the comic book industry has changed, and it has changed through HR. This is not a surprise in how it happens, but this is exactly how it happens. First, there's like the words slightly change, creating a safe space at work for discussing social justice topics. Is it a safe place if you express your opinion, you're told F you from a supervisor? Is that a safe space? I don't think so. Right. So like the term safe space, I don't see this very often, even though this is published, this is a particular article published in 2020. I actually don't see that word anymore. I think it outlived its usefulness. I think that word initially started so, hey, like, calm down, let's have a discussion here. And if you look at this in the comic book industry, it's, hey, no, everybody of any kind of political persuasion is welcome here. We just don't like Nazis. That's all. Oh, okay. So we'll drive the Nazis out. And if you can agree to that, now the definition can shift. So Nazis means a whole lot more than it used to mean, than it really in actuality means. And as those definitions shift and grow, suddenly work becomes a much more hostile place. And so, like in this case, this has been, I've heard more about this recently. What is this? July 12th. Actually, this was quite recently. Critical race theory battles are driving frustrated, exhausted educators out of their jobs. What? So, are you being fired if you don't agree with critical race theory? The answer is probably not. The few cases that it is happening are so notable that it almost be someone like Jordan Peterson, which is just such a public thing. And even then, I don't believe that Jordan Peterson was ever actually let go because of his position, right? All of this really is leaving. That's an exodus. So what happens is it's so uncomfortable. They make it such an uncomfortable place to be that most reasonable people can see the writing on the wall and they voluntarily leave. And as that happens, if you are in charge of Marvel Comics and you're controlling the HR department and you're making sure, hey, we have to be able to, when we're doing hiring, we have to be able to talk about these important issues. Well, okay, important issues like what? Racism. Oh, well, my goodness. There's still blatant racism going on. Of course, let's talk about this. But it escalates, and it escalates, I want to say quickly, but it's actually relatively slow. I think it speeds up. But so what happens is you have a lot of people voluntarily leaving. You have hiring practices that only hire people that agree, and when you get hired at a company, and even in your interview, your first day on the job, these kinds of discussions are coming up, and it's already on the table that they're going to judge you based on your skin color. That's already part of the plan. It's a package deal. When that happens, then the entire culture at the company changes. So you go from, well, no, of course we would never fire conservatives, to mass exodus of conservatives leaving, to when there finally is an outlier around, they don't know what to do with you. And I believe that's when there could be possibly grounds to let you go based on your political persuasion. Why is that? Because they have enough of a percentage of the company in order to establish those kinds of policies that would seem insane 5 or 10 years ago. But now, I mean, it's just regular. I mean, where that's how the company culture is. So when this happens in comics, I remember when it first got when I first was made aware of what was happening, I would ask, what, like, this is ridiculous. You can't be conservative and work in comics. Why is that the case? And the pushback that I heard was that no, that's not just not true. You can be conservative and work in comics. So, okay, all right. Well, now again, the culture has changed so much that you are not seeing conservatives that still work in comics unless they're very, very quiet and they keep their political opinions to themselves, which in theory would make the world a better place if everyone thought that way. But that's just not how it works. So the question I want to pose is, if you work at Marvel Comics or DC Comics, and I know I have viewers that do, if you're working there, do you feel a responsibility to stay there? If it seems hostile, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know you got to keep your mouth shut. You know you have to sit through these meetings and either just nod along or nod off to sleep, or however you deal with it. If you just have to go along to get along, at what point would you leave? And my second question is that actually part of the problem? Is the fact that people are voluntarily leaving their jobs and quitting, is that part of the reason why the culture has changed so much? And is that actually the important thing, is that you should stick around? You should, be putting your foot down earlier on, because the later it happens, the easier it is to say that you are a terrible person and therefore should be let go. These are really tough questions, but the more that I think about it, in the comic book industry, so much of it is being controlled from a political perspective that it just seems like a mess. Like, how would you salvage it? How do you untangle it? I can already hear the comments right now being typed that you can't. You just let it burn to the ground. You just build something else. I get that. I totally get that. But to those people still working for these companies, at some point, do you just leave, or is there hope to push back? Because after all, you work there as well. I don't know exactly how that changes, but I think that the wheels will fall off, only because eventually, when all of the right people are leaving a company, you're left with no other scapegoat. You're left with no other villain. So they're going to start, throwing out people for more and more ridiculous things. So maybe then it'll be better, but how long do you ride that out? I just don't know. But this is how it's working, and if it hasn't hit you yet in a personal way, I think that it will. It is only a matter of time. But the question is, do you stick around or do you jump? Do you jump ship? Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think about all this. Downcast 3 submerged on Indiegogo. Everything's sent off. I'm just waiting for the book. As soon as it gets here, we're going to start fulfillment. So appreciate everybody that has supported this campaign. Don't forget about Fatal as well. I'm going to have some updates for you coming in the next few days. So I really appreciate everyone's patience and support on these books. And I'll be back with another video. By the way, I am going to do more how to write videos. There are fewer people that watch those videos, but the people that do really appreciate them. So I'm going to get through my how to write series, my updated how to write series. I did one a while ago. Yeah, that is the plan for sure. I will do those. I'm just going to space them out a bit. So thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video.